Greetings. This is my video 110th. It is a continuation of video 109th about DACAM. I've mentioned there or explained that DACAM is one approach of occupational standard development, curriculum development. There are many other job specifications or job classification tools and the like. Another approach for job classification or occupational standard development or TVET curriculum development is using competency standards. So we will see that specifically in competency-based training approach. My name is Edesa Tolosa. Now let me move to presenting or introducing myself. This is my contact information. My email is there. I have also YouTube channel and also my LinkedIn, especially in the LinkedIn you can get me there or communicate me, or you can see my profile. I can say I'm a professional. I have a professional skills such as consultancy. I'm a consultant, specifically in training and development. I'm working as a trainer. I'm working as TVET and community development specialist. I can say I'm working also as vocational and career counselor, and also I'm working as a researcher, writer, translator from English to Amharic, English to Afan Oromo, and the vice versa as well. I'm also a YouTuber, as you can see. This one is my 110th video. That means I have uploaded so far about 109 videos on different issues, for that matter, actually, in the different language, for also in Amharic, in Afan Oromo, in using English, on research methods, studying skills, on training development, among many others, actually. So I can say I'm a DACAM facilitator. What does DACAM mean? Yeah, DACAM, in my 109th video, I presented totally what DACAM means and its uses, and where and when it should be used. So you can refer to that video. So I'm a professional DACAM and competence-based training facilitator, I can say, so that you can communicate to me if you want any kind of help, any kind of consultancy as well, using my contact information. Having said this, now let me go to the contents. In the content, there are definitions and also principles and philosophies of competency. CS stands for competency standards. Major characteristics of CS approach. CS in developing OS, occupational standard curriculum, merits and demerits of CS. We'll see this in a particular video together. Now, there are about two philosophies for defining occupational standards. Of course, not only two, there are 4 or 5, but what I'm going to deal with you is about the two ones. The first one is the DACAM analysis, the second one is this one, competency standard analysis for occupational standard and curriculum development. Now, competency standards, when you say, what does this mean? In other videos, I've also presented what competency means widely. Here, I'll simply put it in brief, just to remind you what it is. So in order to understand what competency standards are, first you as a learner or a follower of this video or a trainer, whoever you are, should know what competency is. Competency is the collection of skills, the collection of knowledge, and the collection of attitudes or work ethics that are required for all workplaces to operate effectively. This is what I actually define. Of course, the different scholars define it different way. Of course, similarly, we can say. Now, what does competency standards mean? Competence standard describes the requirement for effective workplace performance in a particular area of work function, activity, or process. We'll see anyways what competence standards mean in detail. Now let me move to competence standard definition. Continue. Competence standards are commonly used approach for occupational standards and curriculum development in technical and vocational education and training TVET programs specifically. They use this one, competence standards. Another is competence standard definition still, according to Brady. He or she said competence standards are used as the base for describing learning outcomes and assessment benchmarks with the technical and vocational education training. The reason why I read all this, I didn't want, or I don't want to go into detail, is because I've already presented all these issues in detail and broadly in other videos. You can refer to my video such as 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. Most of them deals with these issues and the like. So I want you to refer there. That's why I rush in this way by reading. Competency standards are developed in consultation with industry and stakeholders. So look, When we talk about DACAM approach, remember that DACAM is developed by experts. But here, competency standards not only by experts, but also by, it is better to say by industry. It is the industry that should own, ideally, in principle, and the stakeholders that should own. In other countries, developed countries, it is industries that own. Of course, in developing countries like mine, in Ethiopia, for example, it is Ministry of Education or TV sector, whatever you call it, that own it. Anyways, but what should be is it is the industry property, it is the industry mandatory to develop occupational standard and competency standard for that matter, ideally, or in principle. But in developing countries, it is the TV sector that most of the time take place or owns. Okay, these are a unique competency of a particular occupational standard. It is a kind of highlight. We'll see them in detail. You can't see here everything in detail, but we'll see one by one. For instance, let us see now. I'm trying to read it. Occupational standard is power, transmission, and distribution. Management, it is under level 4. This is occupational standard title. So you can say the unit title. This specific competency standard or unit is managing a kind of project quality. Project quality. That is competency. Under that, there are number 1, determine actual requirements or quality requirements. It says that element, what you call it. To the right hand side, there are performance criteria or the steps. Or the steps with qualifiers, I can say, in the right-hand side, explained or expounded briefly. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 things described. In order, it describes the element determine quality requirements. So it is written this way, just to show. By the way, in the other videos, I've explained this in detail, so that's why I didn't want to go into detail here. Okay, now, let me go to the benefits and features of competency standards. Competency standards approach as input for occupational standard and TV curriculum development. They are input, especially they use in many countries, this competency standards, including Australia, the Philippines, and also the UK. In my country, Ethiopia also uses this approach nowadays, Of course, 15 years back, 20 years back, my country, the DACAM approach was widely used, which I'm proud of it actually. But now it's competency standard for that matter. This is also one way. Of course, it has a big limitation, especially when it comes to developing countries. I'll tell you what it is in this slide as well. It is demerits or disadvantage or a kind of limitation is there. Anyways, the benefit is competency standards are benchmarks to assess the knowledge, skills, and attitudes required. Especially where competency-based training approach is implemented. And assessment tools should be developed. This is best because it has its own assessment context in each competency standards. Competency standards are reference points against which assessment tools are developed, and that they are basically developed to be in the training system in which there is occupational assessment, the place where in the situation where occupational assessment is in place or practiced, this approach is preferable to others, I can say. Another issue is it is stated that competency standards appear to have arisen from certification system. The competency standard uses discussion of diversified experts and stakeholders such as professionals and trainers. Remember that in my video 109, when we discuss about DACAM, it is experts that participate. But here, it is stakeholders, professionals, and trainers as well can participate when we deal about competency standard or occupational standard using competency standards when they are developed. Competency standard is used to assess the level of a person's existing skills and competencies. I've already told you that or explained that this kind of approach is widely used when occupational assessment tools should be developed or when occupational assessments need to be placed. Competency standard is used to classify labor market and develop national standards of large occupational areas. Yeah, especially when it's large, the occupation standard is when it's large. For example, in construction sector, if you want to develop occupation, you can use competency standards approach. Competency standards are developed in consultation with industry and stakeholders in order to ensure this is what I've already said. What does stakeholders mean? The stakeholders that participate in occupational standard development are employers, professional associations, yeah, labor and education and training institutions representatives. Mind you, in case of DACA, no need of professional associations, no need to participate or allowed to participate these trainers and the like. Only workers, competent workers, professionals, experienced workers, according to the DACA philosophy, mind you, or refer to my video 109 in order to get full-fledged understanding there. But here in competence standard, all these participate. This is a very important part. That is a kind of misconception. Some people say the trainers should not participate in occupational standard. No, the trainers also participate. The trainers with employers. The reason is the trainers, when they participate, when they develop a curriculum, they know the context in which, the context under which these certain things are dealt with. For example, why certain knowledge and skills are included, why certain elements are excluded or included, why the unit of competence were selected, so that the trainers will be witnessed, or they will be witness when they further converted, occupational standards converted to curriculum and training material. So the trainers should be sure. That's what I see as a kind of gap when some countries develop it. The reason why all these stakeholders participate is to mitigate bias and to properly develop occupational standards that really represent the industry. So the stakeholders should also participate when you talk about occupational standards developed based on competency standards. Here is about features of competency standards. Of course, when I talk about features, I think there are certain issues that I have to deal with. Maybe let me read from my researches about features of competency standards. Let me read for you from my study I've undertaken. In Australia, competency standards first appeared in the early 1990s as a component of the Australian approach to competency-based training to guide curriculum developers to achieve desired outcomes. By the end of 1990s, competency standards began to appear in documents called training package. So there are three major components when you talk about competency standards. These competency standards, qualifications, assessment guidelines should be there. It also notes that evidence suggests that competency standards within the training package are having an influence on the nature of the curriculum and the learning that takes place. There is certain things that is put here actually, just this all about features of competency standards. Another is to see competency standards in developing curriculum, competency standard in developing curriculum. So let me see for you. For instance, when we talk about competency standards in developing curriculum, I think it is better. Competency standards do not indicate how delivery should take place. For example, the competency standard do not constitute a curriculum document. Yeah. There is no curriculum document there. It should be converted to curriculum by a trainer as such. The question arises as to whether the process of curriculum development using occupational standard within training package is influencing the structure of the curriculum and the nature of the delivery. Okay, anyways, no need to explain about this actually. By the way, I've shown you in my video, one of the videos I've uploaded, how competency standards are developed into curriculum. By the way, there is a way of doing that. Ethiopia has a good experience in that perspectives. Okay, regarding the demerits of competency standards, competency standards do not clearly portray what to do with to make use of them as training purpose. Yeah, competency standard is there, it's owned by industry, but there is no clear indications how to convert it into curriculum, whether to convert or not to convert. Of course, it's not clearly indicated there. It does not mean it does not show, because there is a kind of skills, underpinning skills and knowledge are included in competency standard. So the teacher can use that one in order to convert it into curriculum. There is no clear and cut statement regarding who should and how many people to participate in CS analysis. In DACAM, about 5 to 12 people should participate. They are experts in DACAM, DACUM, in DACAM process. But here, it's not indicated clearly what type of stakeholders, what type of industry, what type of employers should participate. That's why, from my experience, I saw when competency standards developed, those people who are not concerned with that specific work, come to the workshop and attempt to develop competency standards. I know many competency standards which were developed by para-professionals or by people who are not professional. I came across many occupational standards that were developed, for example, about electrical installation, household electrical installation. I saw people who develop, because most people, especially developing countries, do you know what they do when they develop competency standards? They simply take other countries' experience or occupational standard developed or competency standard. For example, they take from the Philippines, they take from the Australia, and simply adapt it to their own situations. Because it is very difficult, especially for in developing countries, to begin from the scratch when competency standard developed. Most in Ethiopia, for example, the way competency standards are developed, they are just taking Australians' approach or other country approach or Philippines approach and adapt it. But when you talk about DACAM, there is no room for that. The DACAM, simply experts come together. It is experts' words, experts saying that's heard. That is what I want to emphasize in order to you to identify it. Okay, there are certain recommendations that forward specifically based on my research I have undertaken on these issues. It should be mandatory for the development of competency standards to verify if pre-development process such as functional analysis, starting from a major function to sub-function were undertaken before competency standards were developed. Yeah, we should know there is one mistake, common mistakes that are undertaken. What I observed, especially when we do in my country, simply there are situations where simply one get into developing competency standard or adapting, for that matter, taking other countries' approach and adapting it to our own country. But before that, there should be a kind of major functional analysis, sector by sector. Who should do this? It is the industry. It is not the trainer. It is the industry. There should be interference. There should not be interference, because there is a kind of interference I come across from the trainer or training institution or for Ministry of Education or TV sector for some time to this way that no, it is the industry who has a mandatory, especially to undertake competency standard. Industry and association, professional associations and stakeholders should participate there. It is their saying that should be heard. Emphasize or focus on explaining this or underline this is because this is the experience I have when we used to undertake or conduct workshop on competency standards. So this has a problem. Okay, now in the next video, what follows is video 111. In video 111, DACAM versus competency standards. We will compare the DACAM and the competency standards. We will see the relationship and the difference as well. What to use, when to use, what. When to use both of them, when to use only DACAM, when to use competency standards, and how to use them together as well also. So we'll see. So see you there in video 111. Till then, I would like to say bye-bye.